Okay, let's talk about getting started with MVC and the event-based animations in tkinter. To start, we need to download the CMU112 graphics package, which I'm doing right now, and I will keep that. And now it's on my computer in the same folders where I'm going to run my code. If you open this file, you'll see there's a lot of stuff. You don't need to know what's in there, except you do need to know to check the version number. So if we tell you to use version, say 0.9, and you see 0.80, you would have to update to the most recent version. Okay, anyway, let's move ahead and let's look at this first example right here, a key press counter. So copy this code. You cannot run it in the browser. You have to run it locally, and we'll run it. And this is what we get. We get an app that just counts key presses. As I hit the keys, any different key I hit, it just counts how many keys we have that we've hit. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Okay, we have three different methods that we functions, pardon me, that we made. We made redraw all, key pressed, and app started. And we had these two imports. This import gives us our animation framework, the CMU112 graphics package, and this one lets us use anything from tkinter. Excellent. So what's going on here? Well, the first thing that happens is an app object gets created. There's an app class that's made inside the 112 graphics package when you call run app. And it creates this app object, and then it calls app started. So app started is called by the system. We do not call app started. And it gives us this app object that it created. And our job here is essentially to initialize it. This is very similar to the init method that we've seen as a constructor. This just says set up the app when we're starting. And all we want to do is count how many times we've had a key press. So we have one field or one attribute, app.counter, which we've invented, and we're adding it and starting it out at 0. So when our app starts, our counter is at 0. That's all this says. Okay. The next thing that happens is the app actually gets drawn, and that's with redraw all. We've seen redraw all before. It's the same redraw all we've seen all along. Redraw all is going to take an app and a canvas. Of course, you use the canvas to do your drawing. And we've already seen how you can use the app for, say, width and height, which is fine. But now, because we added app.counter in app started, we can use app.counter too, which we do here. We use app.counter to display. Let's go ahead and run this again. And you can see 0 key presses. It's really app.counter key presses. Okay? Excellent. Now the last thing is when I press a key, the system calls key pressed for us. Okay, pressing a key is called an event. In response to that event, the system will call a function that we have written called key pressed. If we called it anything else, the system wouldn't find it. But calling it key pressed, the function calls this function, and it provides the app object that holds the counter that we already added. And it holds this event object, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that event describes which key got pressed, for example. But for now, we don't even care which key got pressed. We just care that this function is called each time I press a key. Great. So now, what do? Well, we just add 1 to the counter. And what's interesting is what we don't do here is we don't draw, because that's not how Model View Controller works, as we'll see, MVC. We'll talk about that more in the next video. But for now, just understand that this function, which handles key presses, only modifies the state of the app. In this case, it only updates the counter. That's all it does. When it's done, the system will call redraw all again. Redraw all will draw a new message here using that new updated counter, and that's how when we press a key here, it updates. It's really 2 steps. I press the key, and first key pressed is called, which updates the counter. And only then, when that's done, is redraw all called. And we can actually prove this by watching this. Let's go ahead and say input, press enter to continue. Okay? And we'll just ignore that. So what will happen now is this. We run this, and I press a key, and see down here it says press enter to continue. And when I do, only then do we get that updated key press. In fact, I'll even go here and say print app in key pressed app.counter equals app.counter. And now when I run this and I press a key in see, so app.counter grew. It's now 1, but it's displaying 0 because we're waiting to continue here, and now there's the 1. Okay, so now of course this was all just for demonstration purposes. You should not really be printing to the console or inputting here except for debugging purposes. Anyway, I believe that covers the essence of what's going on with this simple example.